second family in the old-age home. Eleanor Thompson stood at the front door of her daughter's terraced house in Manchester, clutching a worn leather handbag that George had given her on their 30th wedding anniversary. Rain drummed steadily against the porch roof, soaking the shoulders of her navy coat. At 78, her back ached from years of bending over kitchen counters and ironing shirts that no longer needed ironing. Today, the ache went deeper. Sarah, her only daughter, refused to meet her eyes. "Mom, it's not forever. Willow Grove is a proper care home. They have nurses round the clock, gardens, and activities. David's already loaded your suitcase in the car." Inside, Eleanor could hear her grandchildren, little Emily and Jack, arguing over a video game. Their voices, once the light of her days, now felt distant. She had moved in 4 years earlier after George's sudden heart attack, hoping to help. Instead, she had become an extra shadow in a house already bursting at the seams. "I cooked your favorite shepherd's pie last night," Eleanor said softly, her voice trembling. "Left it in the fridge for tomorrow." Sarah's jaw tightened. "Mom, please don't make this harder." The drive south to Oxfordshire felt endless. David kept the radio on low, some talk show about property prices. Eleanor stared out at the passing motorways, fields blurring into gray. By the time they reached Willow Grove Care Home, the rain had eased into a misty drizzle. The Victorian manor stood proudly behind wrought iron gates, its red brick walls covered in thick ivy, tall chimneys reaching toward a heavy sky. Wide sash windows overlooked manicured lawns that sloped down to a small lake where ducks glided peacefully. Mrs. Hargreaves, the matron, greeted them with professional warmth. "Mrs. Thompson, welcome. We'll make you comfortable here. Room 14 is on the west wing. Lovely view of the rose garden." Eleanor said goodbye to David with a stiff hug. No Sarah. As the car disappeared down the drive, something inside her shattered. The nurse helped her to her room. A modest single bed, a small wardrobe, an armchair by the window, and a shared bathroom down the hall. Eleanor sat on the edge of the bed, the silver-framed photograph of her younger family trembling in her hands, and cried until her chest hurt. Great, ragged sobs echoed off the walls. She cried for George, for the daughter who no longer wanted her, for the life that had quietly slipped away. The first week passed in a fog of grief. She ate little, spoke less, and avoided the communal areas. Meals in the large oak-paneled dining hall felt like performances. Shepherd's pie, fish, and chips. Overcooked vegetables. She pushed them around her plate while others chatted. At night, the unfamiliar creaks of the old building kept her awake. She missed the smell of her own kitchen, the way George used to hum old Beatles songs while shaving. On the 8th afternoon, during tea in the bright sunroom filled with potted ferns and wicker chairs, an old woman with a shock of white hair and piercing blue eyes dropped into the seat beside her with surprising energy. "I'm Agnes Whitfield, 82. Don't bother with the Mrs. bit. Makes me feel ancient. You're the new arrival who's been watering the carpet with tears every night. Thin walls, love." Eleanor blinked, startled into a weak smile. Agnes's Lancashire accent was thick and comforting, like a warm blanket. "I'm Eleanor Thompson," she replied hoarsely. Agnes pushed a cup of strong tea toward her. "Drink that. Sugar's already in. Now tell me what catastrophe brought a decent-looking woman like you to this glorified boarding house." Before long, two more women joined them. Beatrice Clark, 76, had soft gray curls and a gentle Birmingham accent. She had been a primary school teacher for 35 years and still carried a book everywhere. Dorothy Hargreave, 80, was thin and bird-like with arthritic fingers, yet her eyes sparkled with dry humor. She had raised 4 sons alone after her husband abandoned her in the 1970s. That afternoon stretched into evening as stories poured out like water from a broken dam. Agnes went first. "My eldest boy, Kevin, waited until I was in hospital with pneumonia. Sold my little semi in Blackburn without telling me. Came home to find strangers living in my house and my clothes in black bags on the curb." "It's for the best, Mum," he said. "Haven't heard from him proper in 6 years. Sends a Christmas card sometimes with a tenner inside. Blood money." Beatrice's voice was quieter, laced with old pain. "My daughter-in-law decided I criticized her parenting too much. Truth was, I only wanted to help." One morning while my son was at the office, she packed 2 suitcases and drove me here. Said, "Don't call unless someone's died." I've had 2 minor strokes since. Apparently neither qualified. Dot chuckled darkly. "I scrubbed floors in offices and worked nights at the bakery to put my 4 lads through school and apprenticeships. They all have good jobs now. Accountant, engineer, teacher, and one in IT. Yet every Christmas it's the same argument. Whose turn is it to have Mum? Last year I told them not to bother. Sat here eating dry turkey while the nurses tried to cheer us up with paper hats." Eleanor shared her own story, the slow erosion of her place in Sarah's home, the impatient sighs, the way the grandchildren preferred their tablets to her stories. By the time the dinner bell rang, something had shifted. The crushing loneliness felt a fraction lighter. The weeks turned into months, and seasons painted the Oxfordshire countryside in new colors. Summer brought long golden evenings. The 4 women, Eleanor, Agnes, Beatrice, and Dot, claimed a favorite corner of the rose garden. Agnes taught them the names of flowers: Gertrude Jekyll, Lady Emma Hamilton, and the delicate pink ones Eleanor loved best. They walked slowly along gravel paths, leaning on walking sticks or each other's arms, stopping often to catch their breath but never to complain. Beatrice started a weekly reading circle in the wood-paneled library. They read classic novels, Pride and Prejudice, The Secret Garden, bits of Dickens. Beatrice's voice brought the words alive, and soon other residents joined, filling the room with laughter during funny passages and thoughtful silence during sad ones. Dot, despite her painful hands, organized memory afternoons. They spread old photographs across a big table. Eleanor brought out her silver frame. There was George in his army uniform, Sarah as a gap-toothed child on a donkey at Blackpool, Michael before he emigrated to Australia. The others shared theirs too. Agnes had pictures from her nursing days during the tail end of the war, young, fierce, and full of hope. Stories flowed. First kisses, dances at village halls, births, deaths, small triumphs and quiet heartbreaks. Small joys accumulated like pebbles building a path. One Thursday, the kitchen surprised them with proper afternoon tea, warm scones, real clotted cream, strawberry jam. The four women claimed their usual table by the tall windows overlooking the lake. Agnes told outrageous stories about mischievous patients she once nursed. Beatrice recited Keats from memory, her voice rising and falling like gentle waves. Dot did impressions of her grumpy sons that had Eleanor laughing until tears, happy ones, ran down her cheeks. "You've got a lovely laugh," Dot told her. "Should use it more often." Eleanor's birthday in mid-July became a quiet celebration. The others had secretly saved their pocket money. They presented her with a new knitting basket made of soft wicker and several skeins of the finest wool in her favorite lavender shade. Mrs. Hargreaves brought out a cake with slightly lopsided icing that read, "Happy Birthday, Eleanor," in wobbly blue. They sang off-key, but with genuine warmth. For the first time since arriving, Eleanor felt truly seen. Autumn arrived with crisp air and fiery leaves. They wrapped themselves in scarves and sat under the ancient oak tree, sipping flasks of tea Agnes smuggled from the kitchen. Conversations grew deeper. Eleanor spoke of her courtship with George, how he had proposed on Brighton Pier during a rainstorm, both of them soaked and laughing. She recalled raising Sarah and Michael, the family holidays in Wales, the pride and worry of watching them grow. "I always thought blood was the strongest tie," Eleanor said one windy afternoon as leaves swirled around them. "But sometimes it feels thinner than the tea we drink here." Agnes squeezed her hand. "Blood starts the story, love. But the ones who stay and choose you, they write the best chapters." Winter tested them. Dot caught a nasty bout of bronchitis and spent 2 weeks in the infirmary wing. The others took turns visiting. Eleanor read chapters from Cranford aloud while Dot rested. Beatrice brought fresh flowers. Agnes smuggled extra chocolate biscuits. When Dot finally returned, pale but triumphant, they celebrated with mugs of hot cocoa and shortbread in the sunroom, a small fire crackling in the hearth. Christmas was bittersweet. Sarah sent a card with a brief note and photos of the grandchildren. Eleanor cried quietly in her room that night, but her friends came to find her. They stayed up late playing cards, sharing memories of Christmases past, and singing carols until the nurses gently reminded them of bedtime. As spring returned, painting the gardens in fresh greens and vibrant blooms, Eleanor's health began its slow decline. The doctor spoke of congestive heart failure, common at her age. She needed a walking frame for longer distances and oxygen on difficult days. Yet her spirit remained bright. "I've got my family waiting," she would tell the nurses, pointing toward the sunroom. The four women spent more time under their oak tree. Agnes brought her flask. Beatrice read new poetry. Dot dozed contentedly. Eleanor watched the clouds drift across the wide sky and felt a profound gratitude. One particularly warm afternoon in May, as bees hummed among the roses, Eleanor's breathing grew shallow. The nurse alerted the others. Agnes, Beatrice, and Dot gathered around her bed in room 14. Sunlight streamed through the window, catching dust motes and golden beams. Eleanor's voice was faint, but her eyes were clear and full of love. She looked at each woman in turn, squeezing their hands with what strength remained. "My blood family abandoned me," she whispered, a peaceful smile touching her lips. "But my heart's family embraced me. You gave me laughter again. You gave me belonging. Thank you for being my second family when I thought my life was over." Tears slipped down Agnes's cheeks. Beatrice kissed her forehead gently. Dot hummed an old lullaby she once sang to her own children. Eleanor Thompson passed peacefully just before dawn the next morning. The silver photograph rested beside her on the pillow. Outside, birds sang their morning chorus over the dew-kissed fields of Oxfordshire. In the weeks that followed, Agnes, Beatrice, and Dot planted a rosebush near their favorite oak. They named it Eleanor's Heart. Every spring it bloomed in vibrant pink, filling the air with sweet fragrance. The three women continued their rituals: tea in the sunroom, stories under the tree, laughter that echoed down the corridors. They told new residents about their friend, proving that family is not only the one you are born into, but the one you build with love, patience, and chosen kindness. Closing note: good luck to everyone navigating the beautiful, sometimes painful journey of life and family. Remember, love can bloom in the most unexpected places, and second chances at belonging are always possible. If you enjoyed this heartfelt story, stay tuned on this channel for more emotional tales that celebrate the human spirit. Please subscribe, like, and support us so we can keep creating stories that touch hearts and remind us what truly matters. Take care, cherish your connections, and never underestimate the power of a chosen family.